welcome to the Faster Freedom Show. My name is Sam.
And I'm Lucas.
And Lucas, we have a very special guest, and I usually say that tongue-in-cheek, but I'm being honest this time.
Thank you for being honest to our listeners, Sam.
Yes, to all of our listeners, we have Mr. Rob Abasolo himself. How are you doing, Rob?
Ahoy. I just wanted to compliment Lucas here, because the moment you said, "Hi, I'm Sam," he was like instant, like, "And I'm Lucas." And I'm like, wow, it's like, did y'all prep that? Do y'all aim to just fire off 1-2 that way, or was that organic?
A little bit of both. This is episode 205, and Lucas and I have been friends for about 25 years.
18 years on Facebook.
And today is our 18-year Facebook friend anniversary.
Wow.
How crazy is
Are
that?
y'all gonna go out to dinner or anything? Like have a
Probably
little
should.
We
kind of
probably
anniversary
should.
date?
Not in the plans. Maybe we will do that,
Maybe we
Lucas.
will, yeah.
18 years friends on Facebook today.
Our dinner looks like going to enjoy a Marvel movie in the movie theater. That's what our dinner looks
Yeah, our
like.
dinner is more like, hey, let's get some candy, have a gummy, and go watch Iron Man.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
did. We did that exact thing a couple weekends ago.
All right. Well, hey, what are we talking about today? What are we doing today? We're talking real estate. We're talking my life, entrepreneurship, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, everything in between.
All of those things. We are talking about that. We are going to get into Bigger Pockets a little bit. You are this is probably one of the first few times you are introduced as one of the former co-hosts of Bigger Pockets. And then we're going to get into all your short-term rentals, all the crazy stuff you're doing there. Obviously, we're not going to try to corner you into anything, but just kind of let the people know what's going on in your life right now.
Corner me. It's all I've ever wanted. I'm already cornered by the TikTok comments.
Yes, you're kind of cornered in your studio up there. It's kind of a slide corner.
Small little nook, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put Rob in a corner.
Don't put Rob in a corner. Awesome. So, Rob, for those that don't know who you are, could you give us a little bit of a flavor of what you do and how you do it?
Absolutely, yes. So my name's Rob Abasolo. I went to school for advertising. I was in the advertising world for about 10 years, and I was not getting paid enough, and I wanted to make more money. So I got into this little thing where you could put your house or like your apartment on this website, and strangers would pay you to sleep in there. And of course, that website is Airbnb. And very quickly learned that I could make money doing that. And after doing that for a few years, I was eventually able to quit my job, go full-time into the Airbnb world. Simultaneously, around 3 years into that journey, I started a YouTube channel called the Robuilt YouTube channel, where I talked about this Airbnb thing, and happened right before the pandemic. Kind of hit a really sweet spot in the algorithm where everyone was just looking to kind of learn how to make an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And my channel took off, and I did that for a couple of years. And eventually I caught the attention of this small little podcast called Bigger Pockets. They reached out and they said, "Hey, would you like to be a guest on the show?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, my dream has come true." And man, really, I felt like I made it. And then 6 months after that, they said, "Hey, Brandon Turner's leaving. Would you be interested in filling in for him?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, me? I'm nobody." And I ended up becoming the co-host, and I did that. I've been doing that for the past like 2.5 years, up until about a week or two ago. And now I'm just a full-time real estate investor, content creator, educator, entrepreneur, all that good stuff.
That is, so the craziest thing about that is I always called your channel Robuilt, but it's Rob Built. So that's
right.
new to me.
It's like my name, like Rob built it.
I get it now, Rob. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little slow on the uptake.
Well, it's kind of funny because when I started that channel, it was a DIY channel. So that's why it's called Rob Built. I taught people how to do like make a planter or like an accent wall or hang a shade sail. That's actually like, I think my most viral video. If you go in and type in shade sail on YouTube, I will probably be the first video on there. And I didn't want to talk about Airbnb or tiny homes. I was actually petrified of it. Even though that's what I was good at, I never wanted to talk about that because I thought it was super boring. I was like, oh, the content around Airbnb and tiny homes is so boring and vanilla. And one day I posted a tiny house video and it went viral, and I was so bummed. I was like, dang it, why do people care about this?
Now I have to do
like
more.
my other stuff. And my friend was like, dude, what if you were the not boring version of that? And I was like, genius. So I went all in, and it kind of took off and turned into this vehicle I never imagined.
Nice. So no more shade sale videos?
You know what? It's kind of funny that you say that. I have a Airbnb I'm launching about 2 minutes from my house. I bought that and I'm setting it up, and it needs a shade sail. And I'm kind of thinking about like I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna make another
So
one like
fun.
the return.
Yeah.
The redemption, and actually make it like my new style, which
Yeah.
is like more production value and all that stuff.
So you know how it'd be a lot cooler if I knew what a shade sail was. Do you know
Sure.
what a shade sail? What's
I just assumed that you guys knew. I assume you, Lucas, knew, so I just was gonna act like I knew.
what's this? What's a shade sail, Rob?
It's basically those like it's kind of like those like patio cover. I don't even know how to describe it if you don't know what it is.
Pergola?
It's like a piece of it's like a pergola except it's made out of cloth,
Okay.
and it
I
like
know what they
you
are
put it
now.
over your patio,
Yeah.
and it blocks the sun. So it's like
I
a
like to put them on the playground sometimes too for shade
yes.
for the kiddos.
And they can
It's
be
like a sail. How about that?
They're
It's
not
like
some of them can be
a ship
retractable.
sail.
I don't think they can be retractable, Rob, right? No, that's not a thing.
That would be more of an awning. So mine is more just like literally if you could imagine stretching out a blanket and hanging it above you, that's
Yeah.
kind of what a shade sail is.
And like more of like a canvas style thing. Lucas thought it was retractable. So Rob, you see what I've been dealing with for 18 years on Facebook, and
I'm
years in
I'm
business.
looking for a job if you need a co-host.
I've been carrying him for 10 years in business now. So that's just the stuff I have to deal with. So Rob, let's just get to it. So two things I want to get to before we dig into a lot of other stuff. One, talk about HostCon. I know you've sold plenty of it, but let's get that out now just in case somebody wants to attend. It's in a few days. It's the 29th and 31st. So just do a quick little push for that if you don't mind, just in case a few people want to attend.
I don't mind. No, yeah. So HostCon is my short-term rental conference. It's in Houston, Texas, Austin 29th through the 31st. It is an opportunity for you to get in the room with hundreds of short-term rental operators, the best and brightest in the industry. Cody Sanchez will be there, Tarek El Moussa, Levi Kelly, Isaac French. I mean, so it's going to be my best one. And we have officially sold more tickets than badges. So I think it's fair to say we're sold out, but I'll leave the tickets open. And if y'all want to get cozy, we'll get cozy. We sold out last time too. And I sent out a survey last year for feedback, and everyone was like, it was an amazing conference, but it was too small, too hot. And I had to sit on the floor, and I was like, sorry, I hope you got value. So we got a bigger venue this time, but it's probably going to be the same thing.
People are going to complain no matter what.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's just dig into the second thing I want to talk about. So let's talk a little bit about this Bigger Pockets thing, because obviously they're a huge brand, huge company. You worked well with them and you had a lot of fun. I'm sure you made a ton of amazing relationships, and
Definitely,
like most things in life, that is kind of coming to an end, and it's going to spur a lot of new things with you. So I guess talk a little bit about kind of how that went down, because I know a lot of people are probably interested.
for sure, man. Yeah, it's all, of course, it's a bit of a bummer. Like I liked my job there, my opportunity there, and I think the way I like to think about this is when I got invited to be a guest, it really was like a surreal experience, and so to then get asked to like co-host with David Greene, I just didn't even. It was so far outside of what was possible for me that I just didn't even like. I couldn't comprehend it, and so I just kind of went into it always knowing like this is going to be temporary. There's no way I'll be here forever, and I'm grateful to have been drafted into the major leagues with a fairly rookie record. So I really look back at that time, and I'm like very honestly grateful and appreciative that it got to happen. And yes, I met a lot of cool people. It was really, I think that the coolest thing about being the co-host is like I could call pretty much anyone and get connected with anyone I wanted in the real estate space. Like it's such a privilege. And I've gotten to know some of the best and brightest, like Tarek El Moussa speaking at HostCon because I was on Bigger Pockets. Pace Morby's a friend of mine. Jamil's a friend of mine. Henry Washington, David Greene. Like I immediately get sort of elevated into any conversation. And that is something that it has really helped me grow to just kind of have the fast track to like the Pace Morby's of the world. And I get to like call him when I have problems. I'm like, hey, dude, what do I do? Help me. And that's been really beneficial for me. I think they decided to kind of change up their direction. And I can't really speak to why, I was offered to be a part of that direction. I told them I really wanted to kind of help set the strategy and realign and everything like that. And I wasn't really given that opportunity, but I will say I was invited to come back. So I'll still be a friendly face every 2 or 3 or 4 months. Whenever they have me back, I'll come back. It's always fun. Like I love the job. I love the opportunity to impact hundreds of thousands of people. And so for as long as I can do that, I'll always do that. which is why I'm on the show.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's one of those things where I've done a few posts that people tend to really like, and it, one of those things where get in a room of, where what you want to do is what they do every day kind of thing. And we do that with masterminds. Luke's and I spend well over $100,000 a year on a few different masterminds and pay to be around, people that are where we want to be. And I feel like it was a different version, but it was kind of that like influencer / impact version of that. And, the digital version of that, you just got in a room with all of these people. And that's a very, very incredible opportunity.
I mean, I highlighted like the big names, right? I interviewed Alex Hormozy, Barbara Corcoran, like that part was cool. But I think the biggest thing that I learned being the co-host of the Bigger Pockets show was honestly, at the end of the day, like I learned that I was nobody and I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And there are smarter, more regular people than me. And like I got to interview people that work 9 to 5s, like doctors, people that immigrated here with nothing, that have built insane portfolios that are way better than mine. And it's humbling. I say that in a good way. I know it doesn't sound like a good thing, but I say that in a good way. I think the big lesson I learned is like literally anything is possible in the world of real estate. There, I'm not going to be as callous and say like there's no excuses. I think, life is hard for a lot of people, but I do genuinely believe there is a path forward in the world of real estate, no matter what the time is, the year, the economy. And I learned that through interviewing the everyday people at Bigger Pockets. And that to me is like the coolest gift I've ever had.
Very cool. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, nothing too dramatic. There was no scandal, just different paths, different directions, different timing. And
yeah,
now you're doing your own thing.
Creative differences. Yeah. But I still am grateful, and I love that I got to do it. So yeah, when they have me back, I'll be back.
Nice. Do you plan to start your own podcast, Rob?
Yeah, I do. I've named it. I bought the domain actually like 3 years ago. It's called Front Hustle, and it's basically like the idea of interviewing people who took their side hustles big. And it's an important concept to me just because like Airbnb was my side hustle. That was how I was making $2,000 a month. And I've just got such a unique addiction and fascination with like asking people about money and how much they make and how they make it and breaking down their blueprints that I have these conversations behind closed doors all the time. So I kind of want to just put it on air, and whoever's willing to come and break down their business and give the numbers and like help people, that's who I want to interview. But the idea is who made their side hustle their front hustle and who's going big with it. And yeah, I haven't recorded my first episode yet, but we are working on cover art and all that stuff. Obviously, with more time and a little bit of foresight with what was coming down the pipeline, I probably should have launched it. But, content, I can make that anytime I want. So.
Yeah, you can. No, that's a cool idea, because most people, you get a 20-second TikTok or a quick video and they just say, I profited this or grossed this. Nobody really digs into the net nuances of what actually you make. I know so many people that say they make this, but I know that they actually take home this, and it's quite the difference, the stark difference. So digging into all that, I think, is a good idea.
For sure. And that it's kind of funny though, because you're like, I think you get it probably more than anyone, because you've got like 2 or 3 houses, right? You've got a few, and I do see these dudes on TikTok and on Instagram talking about like how much money they make on like Airbnb, for example, and I'm kind of like, I know what expenses are, like I know how much it would cost to run a property like that, and I know that that's not how much you're making, like that's how I kind of feel. Whereas a podcast, I am kind of a wholesome, like, hey, everyone, let's be friends kind of guy. But I do want to kind of get into those tougher questions of like, pull up the Stripe and show me. No, I'm just kidding. But I do really want to kind of like bust down some of the expenses and really get into like what the profit margins are of like side hustles and businesses.
Yeah, I like it. We've talked about that a little bit in our conversation. So yeah, it's not near as much as most people think. And I was on TikTok the other day and scrolling through the lives, and it was just, I think I saw 10 different people that were pushing wholesaling or flipping, or it's just, there's a new guru every single minute of every single day on social media. So
who are your least favorite? No, I'm just kidding.
There's a lot. You got, I don't know any of them, but anyways, it's an interesting guru world we live in. We'll dig into that here in a little bit. What do you got, Walls?
Sounds good. I'm kind of ready and excited to transition into short-term rentals.
Let's do it. Let's go. I'm good with it.
All right. So Rob, what part of the country are you out of?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. Cool. So a couple questions here. kind of started dabbling with short-term rentals. It sounded like with your own house even.
Yeah.
Maybe a little clarity on that. And then why continue to build the short-term rental portfolio over the long-term rental? And then what part of the country are you doing your short-term rentals in?
So three-parter. Don't forget any of those parts, Robert.
Nope, I got it. Hey, listen, I got it. All right, let's start with number one. How did I get started? I rented an apartment in Los Angeles, California. That apartment was 1850. Well, it was actually 1849. Every single month, and it was a 666 square foot apartment. Why they couldn't say 667 or 65, I don't know. I feel like they could have just lied about it, but
Yes.
I lived in Satan's apartment apparently, and I got tired of paying rent to the landlord, and I was like, man, I'm just paying $18.50 every single month, and it's going nowhere. So I told my wife, I was like, look, what if we just bought a house? And she was like, we can't afford that. I was like, no, we can't, but we got to figure it out. I was like, I'd rather be poor in LA with a house than, like comfortable paying rent. And she was like, all right, if you say so. And so I went out and bought a house that had this 279 square foot studio apartment under it.
Nice.
And again, I had heard about Airbnb, and I was just like, man, I think if I list it, I think I'll make money. And so I started running comps. This was very primitive, but I just started kind of calculating what people were making. And I figured out that I could probably make $2,000 to $3,000 a month just from that studio. It's significant because that that house was $4,400 a month for the mortgage, which is a lot. That was like more than double what I was paying. But I was like, but if I'm making $2,000 to $3,000 a month, I'm actually net positive here.
Yeah.
So we bought the house. Then that kind of brings the question of like, well, what about your apartment? Well, my wife was like, I mean, what do we do? And I was like, I think we can just list it on Airbnb. And she was like, are you sure this is going to work? And I was like, definitely not, but we got to try it. And we did. We listed it on Airbnb. Profit from that was like $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And like profit net after all expenses. And it was actually kind of great. That was rental arbitrage. But it was great because when you're just renting it, you don't have to worry about maintenance or capex or anything like that. So it actually was like a fairly profitable Airbnb for me. And between that and my studio apartment, I now had a $0 mortgage or rent or whatever you would call it. And that's just so significant to me in the world of real estate. When people ask me, how do I get started? Do I go buy this house? Do I go to a different market? I'm like, do you own a house? And they're like, no. I'm like, buy that house hack. Rent out a room, a space, a dungeon, a closet in your house, get them out of your mortgage as fast as possible, get it down to zero, and that will be the ultimate catalyst for building wealth. And so that was it for me. I mean, it really did kind of spin off into, man, I'm not paying a mortgage anymore. How can I make more? And so I built a tiny house in my backyard, and that was an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. And then, I started renting that. And then not only was I not paying a mortgage, but I was making like $1,500 a month. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm rich. I've done it. It was such a magical moment for me. And then from there, I just scaled up because other people would be like, dude, tell me more about this. And I was like, oh man, you're not going to believe it. I don't pay a mortgage. I make $1,000 a month. And they would just be like, man, I'll just pay for it if you do it. And I was like, fantastic. So I call this the you fund it, I run it model. And I just had partners that would buy houses, give me 50% equity in cash. And I would just run it. And I just scaled up using other people's money. So that's kind of like the quick blueprint of how I started.
Nice.
The second thing, I've already forgotten. Dang it. I talked
Short-term
all
rentals over
Yes.
long-term rentals.
I think the big appeal, right? I mean, it kind of depends on what you want. So it comes down to sort of like the work spectrum. So when you put like long-term rentals on the far end of it, medium-term rentals in the middle, and short-term rentals at the end, your return profile will grow depending on which side of the spectrum you're in. So the least amount of money you're going to make is on a long-term rental. The mid amount of money you're going to make is a midterm rental, and the most money that you're going to make is a short-term rental. Now, with the increase in income or the increase in return comes an increase of time in management. Long-term rentals, you make way less money, but it's set it and forget it. Give it off to a property manager and let it just grow and appreciate. Maybe you'll make a couple $100 every single month. Medium-term rental, you have people coming in 30 days at a time. Typically, they feel like they live there. They're rarely going to bother you during their 30-day stay. Those are actually my favorite types of rentals. And then short-term rentals, I'm hosting between 5 to 7 groups of people every single month. So let's just take 6, multiply that times 12. I'm dealing with roughly 74, maybe it's 72, 74 groups of people that are staying at my properties. So it's just way more, I don't know, riffraff, Karens, guests, wear and tear that I'm dealing with, but I make more money. And so for me, it was just so appealing because I was like so broke that I was like, I will do whatever it takes. I will manage however much I need to manage to make more money. And it's kind of spoiled me because now I make such like, pretty decent money from Airbnb that I don't think I can really do the whole like $200 or $300 a month long-term thing, but I'm coming around to it, and I'm trying. I'm working on myself.
Yeah.
But that would be the case for why I do short-term rentals. And then lastly, where are they? I've got about 40 doors around the country. I've got a place in LA, Joshua Tree, Scottsdale, Arizona, a couple places in the Smokies, Houston, Austin, Virginia, North Carolina, New York. So they're kind of everywhere, which sounded really cool for a long time when I would go on YouTube and be like, I've got 40 properties, long distance management, this and that. You can do it from anywhere. But at scale, when it comes to quality control, it's not all that cool. And so now I'm actually trying to possibly triage, sell off, move all of my units into like the Houston, Texas market, mostly because I'm a content creator and it's really hard to create content about my motel in New York if I live in Houston. And I have a lot of properties I've never been to, and I've never been there because they're so far. So as cool as it was for a long time, I'm trying to bring it all back home
Nice. So,
and see
uh,
them.
very cool. So it seems like, yeah, most of them, yeah, not most of them, but all across the country, most I would say are in, desirable travel destinations type. Is that kind of your model? And then maybe how are the ones in Houston performing versus like other parts of the country? And then
Another three-part. Lucas, settle
I
that.
know. I was like, come on,
Goodness
man, throw me a
gracious.
bone, Lucas.
oh, just all these are all curveballs. And
But-
then what does that management look like? Is it all in house? Do you have parts of it outsourced with it all spread out throughout the country?
Cool. All right. First question. What was the first question again?
I don't even remember the first one. How are your Houston rentals?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
no,
And
that
we're
was the
back.
second one.
that was the second. Vacation,
Yeah,
or
vacation
travel
rentals.
destinations.
Yeah,
And we're
vacation
back.
destination versus just normal destination.
Got
Like,
it.
Yeah.
we have Airbnbs in St. Louis. That's not a vacation destination, but obviously it can still work. So, anyways,
Totally. Okay. So I kind of categorize where I buy in like four main buckets. Four buckets being national parks, state parks, eclectic towns, and vacation destinations. So national parks and state parks, these are like the Grand Canyon, Yosemite, Joshua
Smokies,
Tree.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And like these types of places, I call these Mother Nature's Disneyland, right? I don't really have to market the Grand Canyon. I don't have to say, hey, the Grand Canyon's cool. Come. Like everyone knows about it. Same thing with the Smoky Mountains. Over 1 million people go every single month. The demand will always be there. Small state parks are just like a smaller version of that. So those are like always going to be relatively safe bets, and the competition is usually pretty low. If you go into those markets and actually open up like Airbnb listings in a state park, typically it's going to look like your grandma furnished it and it was like completely decked out in Goodwill furniture with photos that were taken on like a potato phone in 1995. Right. So I think the opportunity to come in and have a premium listing is just like wide open for so many of these smaller state parks, and then definitely like some of the smaller national parks. Eclectic towns to me are kind of like, what are some of these towns that have like a draw to them? Something that's like right outside of a big city. So if you think about like Fredericksburg, that's outside of Austin, that's Texas wine country. Joshua Tree is obviously a or a national park, but that's kind of outside of LA. What would be something in y'all's neck of the woods? Like, what's that place in outside of God, what's it called? Eureka Springs. There we go. I don't think that's super close to y'all, but that's in that
Yeah,
area.
closer to Henry, but
Yeah.
yeah, we got some wine country as well around
For
here.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, isn't there like a place outside of St. Louis called like St. Augustine or something like
there's
that?
Augusta is outside
Augusta.
St. Louis.
That's
Wine
what it
Country,
is.
Defiance. Yeah, I mean, there are 100 and 150-year-old wineries out there. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go. So St. Augustine is grass, but you get my point. Augusta, yeah. So that's an eclectic town or like something that has a draw, and it's typically going to be weekend traffic, and then you're lucky to get weekday traffic, but you can count on like pretty high producing weekend traffic. And then the last one on that is going to be vacation destinations. So this is going to be like beach towns, lake towns, mountain towns, ski towns, or like very touristy towns like Anaheim for Disneyland or Orlando for Disney World. And these are kind of like those places where people plan their trip there like a year in advance. They have big groups of people. They're like, hey, this is our one vacation as a family a year. We're going to drop 10 grand on this. And that to me is like always a pretty solid bet too, because these cities depend on that tourism. So from a regulation standpoint, you can kind of count on it being relatively safe. So those are kind of like the 4 buckets. And then we kind of get like into a couple of other buckets that are a bit less tangible than that. So in your backyard is what I say, within like 1 to 2.5 hours outside of your city that you live in, because you can feasibly get in your car, travel there, and then somewhere where you have boots on the ground. So let's say you have like a family member in St. Louis, you can say, hey, I'm just going to launch it there. And Uncle Bob, he's got my back. If I pay him a little bit, he can go and like fix a leaky faucet if I need it to. Right. And then third one would be familiarity. Is there a place that you have like just a familiar relationship with? Like I went to school at UT, University of Texas at Austin. I know Austin super well. So like I know the ins and outs. I know the quirks. I know the micro neighborhoods and all the pockets there, right? So I can very confidently say, oh yeah, I know that market. I'm less scared to invest there because I know that this little market or this little neighborhood is up and coming and it's going to be huge one day. So those are kind of like 3 intangible places that you can invest. That's how I kind of analyze really any type of market that I'm looking at. And then sometimes like, I don't know, I have bought houses from Instagram that, like on cheap old houses, like save this A-frame. I've bought a house like that before too.
Yeah.
I thought it was TU. I didn't know it was UT.
Oh yeah. Get out of here with the at.
They don't like that, in case you're wondering, Lucas. I say that, then it's, yes, it is. It's the University of Texas. That's what you're supposed to say. TUT. Tut. Did he answer?
That's good. Last part of it was we'll kind of skip the middle one. You wouldn't be thinking about kind of cashing out on equity and bringing more deals to Houston if it wasn't amazing areas there that those are going to perform well. But what does management look like? All these are they separate like management companies in each of these different towns that you kind of all have to manage the manager type thing, or did you built out something in house that you can manage these with?
If you can't tell, Rob, he's the operations guy.
Yeah. So I have an assistant, and she's basically my property manager. So what's surprising to most people is I actually get like every single Airbnb message that my portfolio gets. I get that. I have that on my phone. I read every message that comes through. I'm pretty well tuned with my Airbnb portfolio. I know what's happening. If something crazy happens, like I'm never like, my assistant's never like, man, you'll never believe what happened today. I'll be like, I know. So I've trained her to kind of be like an extension of me. She runs the day to day. And then when I see we're not booking, or, hey, like this is weird, can you adjust prices here? I kind of hop in and I still kind of lead the vision there. Definitely goes very counterintuitive to like most, I would say, thought leadership in real estate, to be so like, a lot of people are like, dude, at your level, why the hell are you doing this? And I'm like, I teach it. I'm an educator. I've got a huge YouTube audience. I've got a ton of students, and like I just feel like I kind of got to be in the game to stay sharp and nimble. And for now, yeah, we keep it all in house. It's a pretty small team, just one assistant and my COO / business partner. Him and I are like always out there trying to take down bigger deals. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, it's all a very nimble team, which again, at scale, 40 doors across the country, that's not the easiest thing for like the team size that we have, but we make it work.
I like it. So what kind of trends are you seeing in the market? Let's kind of take it macro, then let's take it all the way down to Airbnbs, if you don't mind, because the market's showing some trends, and then everywhere I see, everything I read, Airbnb is dead. It's oversaturated. You can't make money in Airbnb because there's so many people in it. What say you about the bigger market? And then let's narrow it down to Airbnb.
Totally. Well, I would say this. There's a lot of ways to approach that. I would say there's a lot of Airbnb is dead, Airbnb bust type of media out there. Like TikTok loves it, right? And then all of the TikTok commenters are like, good, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Now I can finally afford a house.
It's your fault, Rob. They can't afford a house.
It's my specific house that I'm not. It's my specific fault. So I think it's kind of a myth, personally. I think that the people that are suffering right now, it's always a very specific set of people. All right. The people that are suffering right now are people that bought a year or two ago, and they went and put an offer on the house at $150,000 over asking, and they just freaking bought a bad deal. Like, I think that's a very large piece of this. I have never been the guy to make an above asking offer on an Airbnb. And if I did, we're talking like 10,000, maybe 20. But like, dude, Gatlinburg got out of hand for a little bit. People were making like $150,000 over asking offers. And I was just like, I don't get it. I do not get why you're doing that. When interest rates were like climbing, 6, 7, 8%. I think those people are having a tough time right now because there might have been like a small drop off in travel. Part one. Part two, people that are failing. People that are failing right now are people that, for the most part, I would say bought their homes anywhere from the 2010 in the Airbnb 1.0 days to the 2021 era, furnished it, and like never looked at it again. Set it and forget it. Yeah, like it's automated. I send messages, but they never like reinvested back into amenities. They never reshot their photos. They never updated their furniture. They never added hot tubs. So all those people kind of put their place on autopilot, and they had this if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. Meanwhile, we've got people like me who are on YouTube talking about, hey, it's about the experience. It's about actually curating a wonderful time for your guests. And then we started seeing this sort of like new shift in the world of Airbnb, the amenities arm race, where now the properties that are really flourishing are the places with pickleball courts, or the places that are themed, or the places that have these like string light, beautiful hot tub setups. And all those people right now are probably not, crying uncle. Those are probably the people that are doing well. I know. I mean, I've got 2,800 students, and I've got a pretty good pulse on like who's crying uncle and who's not. And when I'm examining a portfolio or when I'm examining a listing that's not doing well, it's typically because someone put janky furniture in there, took cell phone photos, and never did anything with it. That's like one group. The other group are people who furnished it nicely with like IKEA, right? Quote unquote, nicely. Target furniture. It was fine back in 2020, but there's a huge shift in 2022 and 2023. And now everyone is out designing those people and really putting a ton of money into the backyard experience. So those are the people in my mind who are winning. And I see that in my own portfolio, by the way. Like, not all of my properties are quote unquote winners. They all make money, but like the ones that I've invested heavily into the backyard, huge difference from a monthly income and profit standpoint.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it's similar to like the Burr method. You hear the Burr method's dead all the time. Just because something is harder doesn't mean it's dead. Airbnb may be a little bit harder than it was 5 years ago, but it's not dead. Buying Burr's deals may be harder than it was a few years ago, but it's not dead. So those people that know what they're doing, and I feel like obviously you do in the Airbnb space, I think it's like professionals are doing okay now. It's the amateurs that kind of rode the hot waves of low interest rate and the Airbnb crave. Those are the people that are struggling a little bit. They didn't treat it like a business. They treated it as something that couldn't fail. That was just like a side thing to make extra money.
There's a name for them, the dabblers, right? The people that were like, oh yeah, like I could do this. How hard could it be, right? And I actually do believe in that. I don't believe it's hard. I believe it's hard work, but I do think there are people that were like, yeah, let's try it. And then like they probably had their business partner say, hey, I think we should buy these throw pillows. And then the other person was like, dude, that's like a $50 pillow. Heck no. Why don't we just do this like little like weird grandma pattern throw pillow from Goodwill? It's like $5. And those people are the people that I think are like not having a good time right now.
Something that simple. That's crazy. I know that adds up, but that's
It
really
does.
cool. So with you and your students, have you guys been able to scale or continue to scale with these higher interest rates? And besides some of the strategies that you've already mentioned, are there any other strategies out there, newer strategies that you guys are implementing?
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like the amenity experience is really important. I think the interest rates thing definitely make it harder. Like the thing is, it's like, it's not like that much has really changed in terms of the actual demand and revenue that's coming in for a lot of hosts. I think what's interesting is just like you could buy almost any house at a 3% interest rate and it was going to work on Airbnb. So it wasn't because you were particularly smart or just found some insane deal. It's just like you got a 3% interest rate. Like anything could work. You could just, you probably could put a mattress in there and it would work. By the way, that first arbitrage apartment that I ever listed is embarrassing. It's very ugly. It's horrible. And I made money doing it, right? Those are like the old days. I would say like nowadays there is a very specific comping process that I teach, and how to actually use like tools like AirDNA to analyze your property. So yes, it is harder to pencil out with a 7% interest rate, but if you know what you're looking for and you can actually weed through the data, it's actually not all that hard to find a profitable property, in my opinion. But the strategies that we're using, I recently launched, let's see, what are we in August? About 8 months ago, I launched a program called Creative Camp, which basically teaches people how to acquire short-term rentals using creative finance strategies. And so we use basically like subject to strategies, seller financing strategies, hybrid strategies to get into properties, take over the payments of properties that have like a 2.5 to 5% interest rate, or seller finance a property outright from the seller. And man, we've had a lot of success with that. I think at this point, we probably had like, I don't know, 75 students plus close on creative properties. That property I said I'm setting up a couple minutes down the road from here, I got that 100% seller finance. I put down 10% on a $400,000 home, and I got a 3% interest rate for 30 years. And as a result, that deal now, my PITI is $1,900 a month. If I had purchased that at a 7% or an 8% interest rate, it would have been like $2,900 a month,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't have cash flowed. So because of that interest rate, I'm actually able to make it up there. And then we're going super high end on the design and doing a bunch of stuff. So that property now will just be supercharged to the max because of the low interest rate and because of the amenities that we're doing.
A big thing that we notice in our community, and sounds like similarly in yours, people they're investing in like the systems and the processes that you have figured out over the years. It just Airbnb, any type of real estate, it's not rocket science, but there's certain things that you just don't know unless you do it. So
Yeah.
it sounds like that's what you give your students as well. That really, really helps them kind of just avoid a lot of those initial hurdles and toe stubs and head bumps and all those things.
For sure. I mean, and I'm a big believer too. Like I always say this because, like, I think it's always kind of funny to me, like in this space, and I'm sure you get it too. But the people that are just like, I can't believe you would pay for some course where, you could just Google the information. And I'm always like, dude, I'm the one putting out the information on Google. Like, go to my YouTube channel, go like any of my social platforms. I'm the one that's giving out all the free information. So when you're like complaining that the free information exists, you're actually complimenting me because I'm the reason that it exists. But I'm also like, you could learn with that. I don't gatekeep at all. A lot of people are like, dude, why on earth would you like give so much game out? And I'm like, I don't know, because it's like, I don't care. Not everyone's gonna do it. Like, I think I can give out the blueprint. I do give out the blueprint on YouTube like every day. But the people that do it are the people that invest, in the actual high level education, because I really feel like they take it seriously. They what is it called? If they pay attention. Like, I believe in that too. And then also, like, I'm like, you could do it alone. And I mean, my free content will hopefully save you from all the mistakes. But if you make that big mistake, it could cost you like 20, 30, 40, $50,000. Like, I've lost pretty good amount of money over the years from all the mistakes I've made. But I always tell people, I'm like, I learned the hard way so you can learn the easy way.
Yeah, it's one of those things. The transformations in the transaction, a lot of times they're not going to
Yeah.
transform unless they pay it. It's just true. It is what it is.
Yeah. I know. I'm just like, I wish there was a better way to make someone understand that. And it's not to say that you can't. I mean, I didn't have an Airbnb mentor. I figured it out, but there wasn't. It just, the thing is, like, there wasn't really it didn't exist.
Yeah.
That was part of why I like started my YouTube channel. Like, there's very little content out there, and so I just feel like, I don't know, it's a bit short sighted sometimes to to underestimate the power of a mentor, pretty much.
Yeah. And you've have a whole bunch of students. You've interviewed a whole bunch of people as well. You probably get a understanding of whether they're going to be successful or not pretty quickly, if I had to guess. What do you think are the most prominent attributes of a successful investor that you've seen?
One part question, Lucas. That was a good job,
Dude,
man.
fantastic. I think I can get that. I think I got this one. Okay. I would say probably ability to take action quickly. I think the big difference between like a lurker and a real estate investor is how much can you learn and how quickly can you learn it, and how quickly are you willing to basically put yourself out in the world to actually kind of get burned, get run over, fall on your face, whatever it is. Right. And so for me, like, here's kind of the metaphor that I tell people. As I said, when I started the Robuilt channel, I was a DIY channel. And so every week I had to make a new video, and I'd be like, dang it, like, what DIY project do I do now? And so I had like a list of things that like it would just get me to like not want to do it, because I'm like, oh, it's such a big project. And I had this mentality that was like, punch a hole in the wall. And so what I would do is, if I had to start a new project, like let's say in my living room, this is a great example, I would get my hammer and I would just like hit a big old hole in the wall, because then I'd have a giant hole in the wall, and I would have to answer to my wife, my mighty, mighty wife, or I would have to explain to my friends that came over why I had a hole in the wall. And then if they came over 2 or 3 weeks later, I'd have to explain why I still have that hole in the wall. Right. So for me, like, I just had to punch that hole in the wall to just get me to do the thing that I said I was going to do. And I think that's kind of the same thing with real estate investing. Like, how soon can you get yourself to punch a hole in the wall? I think a lot of people really they build up real estate to be like these one-time giant events. Like, okay, I'm going to get a rental property, and like this one property that I'm interested in will be the one that I close on. I'm going to make the offer. And if I say I don't want the house, they're going to put handcuffs on me and take me to jail. It's just not how it works, right? Like, you have to make offers on 10, 15, 20 houses sometimes to actually lock one up. And then that's not even the hard part. The hard part is getting through inspections, getting through the underwriting, getting through the actual loan process. And then from there, it might fall out of escrow and you have to do it again. And so what I tell people, I'm like, if you want to get into real estate, just make the offer. Like, you're not legally bound. There's so many opportunities within that offer process to walk away and get all of your money back. Right. And so I think the people that tend to have that success are the people that understand that not everything is like high stakes. They can just do something really fast, and they'll deal with the repercussions if they are some, but they can pivot very, very quickly. And I think adaptability and the ability to pivot your strategy is what makes that person successful, not really the education or the foundation or whatever it is. Like, I think all of that helps, but how fast can you move, and how fast can you pivot after that move if you need to?
Yeah, no, I think it's something we talk about a little bit around here. Is everybody wants things to be like perfect, and it's almost like done is the new perfect, just getting it done. And that there's no perfect scenario except when you're finished with the project. So you just understanding that, the analysis paralysis thing of, you just gonna have to do it. Cause I always use the analogy of, I feel like as far as what I teach and what I coach and what we mentor on, there's nobody better. Maybe somebody's close to as good, but there's nobody better in our specific thing that we teach. But we're still only going to teach you 30%. You're going to have to learn 70% of it by actually going and doing it. So in my opinion, the best of the best, you're only a third of the way there. The other 2/3 you're just going to have to go do, and there's no really other way around it. If there was, I would tell it to you, but there's not.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Honestly, I think that it's a very honest way to very much approach education and coaching. Like, I do all my onboarding calls for students that join my program. So like once every 2 weeks, they all get in the room and I kind of walk them through how it works. And I say, all right, guys, here's the magic. Here's the truth. This program will not make you a millionaire. It will not make you successful. It will not do anything unless you actually show up. You have to actually show up. You have to actually come to the coaching calls. You have to ask questions. This isn't a silver bullet. There's nothing that can make you a millionaire other than yourself. I can give you the tools. I can give you the miter saw. I can give you the hammer. I can give you the table saw. You still got to build the house, but you're going to be able to build this house a lot faster because you have power tools.
That's funny. I say the same thing. So I do our onboardings every Wednesday morning at 9. Whoever joined, that can attend does it. And I say, this isn't a silver wand, or this isn't a silver bullet. This isn't a magic wand. Very similar speech, my whole thing is, I always say the only insane person on this call is me, not you. And, Albert Einstein defines insanity as doing the same thing over and over again. So you're not going to have to change your whole life, but you're going to have to tweak things and prioritize this, or it's not going to happen. This mentorship won't do it for you, but it'll just help you. So that's funny. We say very similar thing. Sure. I'm just not as aggressive as you. I say wand, you say bullet, but maybe that's because you're in Texas. But similar conversation.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. There's something else I was going to say on that. I don't know. I'm such a big believer. I'm just like, it's hard. It's not hard work. It's hard work. It's not hard. Like, I think, like, I liken sort of the idea of real estate and getting into it. Like, All right, so I'll put it this way. I go to, like, I'll hold meetups, or I'll go to conferences, or I'll throw a conference, whatever it is, like HostCon, which is like August 29th through the 31st. You can get tickets at hostcon.com, but like that's not a big deal. But I'll hold these like meetups, right? And I'll have people that come up to me and they'll say, "All right, Rob, like I want to get into real estate, okay? I don't know what to do. Like, what market do I choose? And like, what happens if I mess up? And then like, if I lose money, is it going to be okay? And then do you think this house will pencil out?" And I'll be like, all right, let's just slow down. I'm like, "What do you do for work?" And then they'll be like, "I'm a brain surgeon." And I'm like, "Dude, I've got good news for you. That is so much harder than what we're about to do here." You know what I mean? It's like there is a process that's relatively repeatable, and there's obviously some adaptations, but for the most part, you're buying a house, you're putting furniture in it, and you're renting it out to people. That's like the idea of Airbnb, for example. In the simplest terms, that's not something you can say about being a software engineer, being an accountant, being a neurosurgeon. I've had them all, and it always makes me laugh. I've had this conversation so many times where I'm just like, if you're a software engineer, you're overqualified for this. Do other things. I'm sure you can go build a software product that'll make you more money.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think very similar takes on it. What do you got? Anything round out before we
Yeah.
get to? We're gonna play a game in a minute, just so you know, and we're not even gonna tell you how it works. You're just gonna be in the
Love it.
midst of it. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Lucas.
So what's next for you, Rob? Is it a focus on more conferences, your coaching platform, getting the podcast up and running, scaling the rental portfolio, a little bit of everything? What do you think's next for you?
Man, you know what? I'm struggling with that a little bit. A couple things, a few things. So I think I'm struggling because like I love real estate and that's what I do, and like that's what I'm good at. But I have found myself to be a bit of an entrepreneur, and I'm not that good of an entrepreneur, honestly. But I just have such a fascination with like trying things and marketing things and like building things. So there's kind of like a convergence in both of those. I just launched hostcamp.com. My big kind of mentorship is Hostcamp. But like I think I'm just kind of tired of the gatekeeping and sort of the way Airbnb knowledge isn't accessible. So I've relaunched hostcamp.com to be a completely free platform. There's like free courses on there, free guides, free templates, analysis tools, and it will be a forum. And that the majority of it will be like a free thing that I just give to the world, just like my YouTube channel, but like in a website form. And the reason I'm kind of doing that is a few reasons. I am sort of building out different companies within that. I've got strcosseg.com, which is my cost segregation company. I've got Funkit Interiors, my design company. And I think I just like helping people on a grander scale. And this is something that I attribute to Bigger Pockets. Like, I love having a huge reach, and I don't have to like, as long as I can reach and help a lot of people, that's what I care about most. So I think my big plan is sort of like to kind of create this free vehicle and build companies that people will just want to go to because they love the content and the things that I put out. Right. So if I make a really cool website, people will hopefully say, "Oh, well, I love Rob. I'm just going to use his interior design company." And I can build out multiple companies outside of an education platform. The other kind of big component of this is that when I kind of move my business into this direction versus being like an education program, the valuation on the company can go to like the 10 to 15x world. And so from there, I'm just kind of like, all right, well, it's kind of like building a house. Like, you build this house and it appreciates. But once you get into the multifamily world, you're like, how can I get NOI higher so that the valuation at a 5 cap is higher, right? And that's kind of the same thing with like what I'm trying to build, where if I can get something to a 10 to 15x multiple and get it to, a 7-figure profits or multiple 7-figure profits, then I can actually have a sellable vehicle, all while using that income and that active income that I make from like, my other companies or affiliates or anything like that to build my portfolio. So long-winded answer to say I'm kind of doing an entrepreneur thing and kind of taking my education into a larger net. And then I'm going to also be really focusing on building like really unique, inspirational builds. I'm kind of tired of just buying houses just to buy them. They don't really creatively fulfill me. So at this point, I just want to build like tiny homes and weird houses and cool things that perform well on Airbnb.
Love that, man.
I like, yeah, it sounds like don't sell your company to the same private equity company that bought Airbnb or that bought BP. They're just
Yeah.
gonna kick out all the hosts.
Well, I do want to say I don't necessarily want to sell, but when you think about like education programs, like there's huge key man risk there, and you can't sell it. You just kind of have this really active machine, right? Active income machine. Whereas I just want to make sure that if I'm putting so much time and effort into helping people, if I ever lose my mental health or just something goes wrong or I just got to focus on family, I just want the option to pull the ripcord and like just leave if I want to. I don't think a lot of people think about the exit. They just think about like, yeah, I want to build it until I'm like old, but I'm like, I want that too. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind just like selling my company for 15 million bucks and then like hanging out with my family for the rest of my life. I don't want to be a billionaire.
I think it's an important thing to think about while you're scaling and
Yeah.
understand what the value is of your company, because there is going to be a point where you're going to have to exit whether you like it or not. So to understand that and figure out how to get out and the creative options there, all while just focus on increasing the value right now, then you can figure out the rest of it later.
Yeah, that's something we're looking at doing, because like we couldn't sell our education company right now, I don't think, because it's too dependent on one specific thing and one specific person. And so we're looking at that too, and we're doing a lot of similar things, which is kind of funny. The way I looked at what you're doing, Rob, is you're creating this huge forum for people, and you're just vertically integrating your companies within it as people need it. Like we're looking at like doing some things with insurance. People need insurance, and if we own an insurance company, probably our students and maybe even our followers are going to say, yes, let's go with their insurance company. Boring, but it's a vertically integrated product. So similar thing we're looking at doing that will very much increase the value of the company. So similar things. All right, we're going to play a game. It's called Over Under. I'm not even going to tell you how it works. I'll go first. All right. Over Under. The largest diamond ever found was 2,042 carats.
Wow. I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Like,
we don't know the answer, by the way. Shane's the one who knows the answer.
So like a big diamond ring, is that like
2 or 3 carats? Yeah.
And like
no, it's like 1 carat.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
like by like middle America, like typical like a $150,000 household, we're talking like 1 carat.
1 carat diamond ring. And with that diamond, that 1 carat diamond, is it found just at 1 carat, or do they like chisel it off something?
I think it just found that, right?
It's refined to be that. So when it comes out of the ground, it's bigger, and then they shave it and whatever they need to do to get the clarity and cut that they want. So your finished product is always going to be lower than what they took out of the ground.
Yes.
But
Shane knows.
But
Lucas,
in general, Shano's kind of similar shape inside. Like they don't take a big one and just like chop it all up, right?
Yeah, they might.
They could.
Okay.
There's no real reason to, because the value of like a big diamond is exponential as long as it's like clear. So sometimes they'll grind up dirty ones for like saw blades and things.
Okay.
But this
So what
is
about
the largest chunk.
Shane and Rob are like diamond experts.
Yeah, there's like the VVS and the
You nerds now.
VVSC, and like there's the 4 C's, right? Cut, clarity, carat, and
color, I think.
color. There you go. Yeah.
Lucas, you have to do this. Lucas, you have to do this in the blood diamond accent from Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, that is a tough accent to do. What is that South African accent? Yeah.
Okay, so this is the largest carat ever found, then, not the largest carat, not the largest
correct
diamond. Okay,
this is rough, coming straight out of the ground. It was South Africa.
Oh,
okay.
There we go, blood diamond.
All right, so Lucas,
I'm going to go over just because I don't know enough about diamonds.
They know a lot, so I'm going to go under because Rob's like an expert and he said under. What is it?
It is over. It's 3,106 carats.
Nice.
Wow,
Big ass diamond.
That's large.
It's not bad.
No,
Yeah.
nice.
It's not bad, mate.
Not really.
No. Yeah, you guys are good at that.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna try.
Okay, go ahead, Luke.
All right, over under number 2 here. Concrete is made of 5 different substances. So over under 5 substances that concrete's made out of.
Under.
It's under.
That's under. I agree.
It is. It's 3.
Yep.
What are the 3 substances, Lucas?
And
It's
Lucas
is an engineer,
some
so he
sort of
knows.
sediment, cement,
And rock.
possibly, or water.
The third one is water.
Water.
Yeah.
Water. Okay.
Yeah, some sort of rock, sand.
trick question on the
Nope.
water.
Yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah, that's water. Yeah. So these little we chop up. Lucas and I, when it's just us on Wednesdays, we do like true, false, and riddles and over under, and these tend to do well on shorts because people like to play along with the game. So
Oh well, then I definitely ruined that by adding on my commentary.
oh, we'll chop that shit out.
No, keep it in.
Well, we'll chop you out, but we'll chop your accent out for sure.
No, leave it.
Okay. All right. Last one. $100 US currency has the purchasing power of $170 Australian.
Oh yeah.
So over under 170.
Shrimp on the
Is that it,
bobby.
Shane?
Correct. Yes.
So how many Australian dollars?
Have you guys ever noticed that every single video I see of kangaroos, they're trying to fight somebody? Is that just because of virality purposes? Kangaroos seem aggressive. Is that a thing that's real, or is that the internet tricking me?
Like kicking people on their
Or
tails?
just like punching them and stuff? Yeah.
I mean, I would say in general, if someone is in the vicinity of a kangaroo, they're probably going to get punched. So it does track. Kangaroos.
Yeah, right. I mean,
don't
but
like people.
I think they're just animals that look really cool, but like you just should stay away from them. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone is just one with nature and the kangaroo doesn't know you're there, they're probably not going around like punching people.
But
Yeah.
if you're like, they're like, get out of my space, they're gonna get on their
Yes.
tail and kick you.
Yes. So it does make sense
Yes.
that the camera.
But I've seen that video of that kangaroo, or unless that's like like AI, they're like has that dog in a headlock and that dude goes and socks it. Like that dog didn't do anything.
That doesn't look like AI.
And of course, there's always the age old advice of that's not a knife. That's a knife.
This is a knife.
Yeah.
How was that? That was good.
Is that Crocodile Dundee?
Yes, lots of accents we got going on. All right,
Yeah.
I'll go first with this one. I'm gonna say under, but just so you know, Rob, we made Shane do like a 20% buffer, so he can't do like $165 Australian. It has to be like a 20% buffer. So I'm gonna say under.
I'm gonna go over.
Yeah, it's not quite 2 times. I'm gonna go over as well.
It is under. It's 149.70.
Suck it, you guys
Wow.
suck at that game.
I'm 0 for 3. That's
Yeah,
right.
Rob, I think you might be our first O for guest, man.
All right. Hey, someone's got to do it, right? There's a
Yeah.
first for everything.
Yeah, we're not gonna have you back now, of
No,
course, but at
no.
least it was a one and doneer, you know.
Look, I was already down. You
Yeah,
can't kick me
kicked
down
off the Bigger
anymore.
Pockets, kicked off to the Faster Freedom Show. There's
Hey,
your
I don't know if you
highlights.
know that there's nothing worse than rock bottom. So joke's on you.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're similar reaches. We get the similar amount of views. This one probably stings even more. Just kidding. Awesome, Rob. So tell people. Obviously, you have your Rob Built YouTube channel we were talking about. You got hostcamp.com. I guess tell people if they're like, I want to know more about this young man. Where would they find you?
Yeah, that's it. The Robuilt YouTube channel, Robuilt Instagram, and you can sign up for a free account at hostcamp.com and watch all my stuff and download all my stuff for free.
Maybe we'll do it. We'll hack it.
Please do. I encourage it.
We were hacking Pace's funnel the other day, and I texted him, and he called me. He's like, just call me, and my here's my Scott, my marketing guy. We don't need to hack it. He'll give you the exact like blueprint down to like the coding. We're like, okay, thanks, Pace.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, you and I always text about that stuff anyway.
We do.
Whatever
Yes,
you wanna,
we do.
there actually is no funnel. I haven't even set up email automation, so it is truly you won't be marketed to in this moment in time.
Awesome. Well, we will not hack it. I was just kidding. But anyways, we will have more offline conversations about how the education space is awesome and sucks all at the same time.
Please. Thank you for having me on.
Appreciate being on.